Hey everybody, Professor Doom here, and I want you guys to take a look at this article that is dated from June 27th, and they're talking about the state of Texas and Florida right here. And the first U.S. spread in 20 years, according to the CDC, of malaria. Now, do you notice how specifically they state about these two states? All right. So we'll take a look at this. The United States has seen 5 cases of malaria spread by mosquitoes in the past 2 months. The first time there has been local spread in 20 years, prompting authorities to issue a public health alert. Do you know what's interesting about the mention of these two states? Let's take a look at something that has to do with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I want to remind you about the participation of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation when it came to Event 201 and the whole coronavirus exercise that took place October 2019. And all of a sudden, somehow, just a couple of months later, we had what they claim to have been an actual pandemic outbreak of, I'm not even going to say the name because we don't want to strike on this channel, but you guys already know what I'm talking about. And we'll just use the same terminology that Monograph had incorporated, and we'll call it the Wuhan Wiggle. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. But let's take a look at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation when it comes to malaria, mosquitoes, Florida, and Texas. Let's take a look at some of these articles here. Just want to show you also a couple of the extra articles here about a statewide advisory against mosquitoes after now it is 5, but when this article came out, it was 4 cases out of Sarasota County. And they talk about malaria is transmitted through infected mosquitoes. And the advisory issued on Wednesday warns residents to take precautions by applying bug spray, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's take a look at this. Scientists led by researchers from the Transmission Zero team at Imperial College London have engineered mosquitoes that slow the growth of malaria, causing parasites in their guts. And we go on down here. The research team showed that the strategy can dramatically reduce the possibility of malaria spreading in lab setting. Collaborators from the Institute for Disease Modeling at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation also developed a model that, for the first time, can assess the impact of such modifications if used in a variety of African settings. They found that the modification developed by the Transmission Zero team could be a powerful tool for bringing down cases of malaria even where transmission is high. Talking about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Let's take a look and see if there's any evidence about Bill and Melinda Gates being involved in the 2 states when it comes to genetically modified mosquitoes being released in those 2 states to somehow counter malaria. And I find it very interesting that the CDC mentions that there was no problem in the past 20 years of malaria until all of a sudden the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation started releasing genetically modified mosquitoes in those 2 states. Let's take a look. Okay, read with me carefully, everybody. Bill Gates releasing genetically modified mosquitoes in Florida. Here's the whole story. This is according to Snopes. Bill Gates is not himself releasing mosquitoes into the wild. However, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation did award grants that funded biotech company Oxitech's work to develop genetically modified mosquitoes that may help reduce the spread of malaria and other mosquito-borne diseases. In April of 2021, it was announced that approximately 150,000 mosquitoes would be released across 6 locations in Florida. Several state and federal agencies have been involved in the approval of this project, a multi-year research project to genetically modify Aedes aegypti, a mosquito species that is known to carry and transmit infectious diseases to humans, was slated to move from the lab to the fields of Texas and Florida in mid 2021 under the project, thousands of Aedes aegypti were altered to make their reproduction more difficult, thus slowing and eventually preventing the spread of mosquito-borne illnesses like Zika, dengue fever. But when the internet caught wind that Bill and Melinda Gates may have been behind the project, posts circulated on social media that questioned the real motivation behind the project. Isn't it interesting that the two states that announced that there are malaria cases are the two states that were involved in the genetically modified mosquito project that was funded, that's right, funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? Yes, they did fund a Oxitech to create these genetically modified mosquitoes, but they were genetically modified to allegedly prevent these dengue fever and malaria. And it appears that that did not work whatsoever. So now I ask you, what say you? How is it that you have this right here telling us that the two states involved, two states, Florida and Texas, do you see any other states mentioned in this article? And they were released in 2021. And now all of a sudden you have malaria case outbreak in these two states. So if you're going to be releasing genetically modified mosquitoes to prevent something that wasn't even there and now it is, that tells me something very huge right there. And considering that you had this foundation, B&M, Bill and Melinda, and they were involved in the Event 201 exercise, and look how that exercise turned into a real event. I'm not saying that what came with it was real. I'm saying that all of the corporations, UPS and others, who was involved in Event 201, the Chinese CDC, the US CDC, and then all of a sudden the Wuhan wiggle comes out and the US starts demanding their borders get shut, and allegedly this country is the one who created the vaccine, we'll call it, to protect the whole globe against this Wuhan wiggle. Well, I would definitely start questioning whether the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation had something to do with that, because now look at what's going on with everybody. There are people that are dying. There are performers, musicians that are dying up on stage. You have people that are doing these weird circular motions and falling out and going through seizure-like episodes. And is it behind the whole, I'm not even going to say, it starts with a V. You know what I'm talking about. So there you go, everybody. I just wanted to share with you, that is the latest about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation being involved in the two states of Texas and Florida, and now there are malaria outbreaks in those two states. Thanks, everybody.